Through 4 games of the 2023 NBA Finals, the Denver Nuggets have taken a commanding 3-1 series lead over the Miami Heat by making one of the NBA's premier defenses look like absolute children. After ranking among the league's best defenses, the Heat have allowed 3 of their 9 worst effective field goal percentages of the season in this series with the vaunted Denver offense. With a pair of 30-point triple-doubles and a decisive Game 3 win, followed by a dominant offensive performance in a Game 4 rout, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray took yet another step in cementing themselves as one of the most dominant playoff duos of all time. So how on earth do they do it? Hey folks, my name is Dylan Brett, and in this video, we're going to break down Denver's destructive offense led by Jokic and Murray and find out what exactly makes them so efficient. Just wanted to welcome you to our basketball community before continuing and remind you to subscribe for more NBA content and leave a comment down below with your thoughts on the series thus far. Now, for all the incredible adjustments we talked about Erik Spoelstra making in our last video, check it out in the corner by the way, Michael Malone and the Denver staff have been incredibly reactive and have responded to each and every one in an absolute flawless manner on a game-to-game basis. After the Heat held Denver to a 1.6 assist-to-turnover ratio in their lowest pace rating of the series in their lone victory, the Nuggets responded with a 59% effective field goal percentage on a 2.7 assist-to-turnover ratio in their back-to-back wins to seize the lead. After taking their day off to adjust, the Nuggets made short work of Miami's renowned zone schemes and diced up their man-to-man looks with a dangerous pick-and-roll combination. Today, we're going to talk about how the Nuggets modified their dangerous two-man game with Jokic and Murray to counter Miami's defensive adjustments. So, without further ado, let's dive into the film and find out what makes this high-octane offense click. In the last video, we talked about how Miami implemented Kevin Love into the starting lineup and used heavy weak side help to help limit Denver's two-man game and slow down Jokic down low. The Heat also adjusted to play the dribble handoffs incredibly aggressively and blitz the high pick and roll, with the goal being to get the ball out of Jamal Murray's hands and force him to make quick decisions with it before the roll option develops, thus limiting Joker's paint touches. This worked tremendously in Game 2 as the MVP was held to 4 assists in a Heat win, but the Nuggets quickly adjusted and put Jokic in a much more advantageous position to play the role of a facilitator up high. Within the opening possessions of Game 4, Denver counteracted this aggressive overhelp style defense with Jokic short rolling and drawing the weak side help before making the extra pass towards the wing. Jumping into the tape, watch how Miami first tries to deny the dribble handoff to Murray with Jimmy Butler, and then later blitzes him to force the ball out of his hands as quick as possible. Jokic then attacks the paint to draw the weak side help from Love and Vincent before dishing to KCP for the wide open 3. This is demonstrated again here as Bam Adebayo comes up to defend the short roll, which triggers a series of cuts as the Joker takes what the defense gives him and creates a bucket down low for MPJ off the cut. See, this aggressive blitzing style works against just about every traditional 5, as it forces them to set up shop 15 to 20 feet from the basket, but you've probably realized by this point in the playoffs that Nikola Jokic is no traditional 5. This style leaves the defense incredibly weak up at the free throw line, which is fine against a big that struggles with his shot, but a consistent jump shooter like Jokic tears it to shred with his range. Denver also mitigated Miami's aggressive denial of Murray by off-ball screening to temporarily free him up from his defender. Here, Jokic purposely sets the pick on Vincent away from the action, which allows Murray time to create separation before attacking the lane for the bucket. This action also doubled as a way to create mismatches for Murray, as here the off-ball screen causes Bam Adebayo to switch onto him and allows him to isolate against the center away from the hoop and step back for the tray. Coming out of a timeout, Miami attempted to counteract this action by bringing the screeners, in this case Jokic's defender, over to double Murray, but this left a gaping hole in the paint and allowed Denver to facilitate their offense through the middle once more through guys like Jokic and Aaron Gordon at some points. What makes this offense so dangerous is its adaptability, as most of Denver's initiations are based off what the defense gives them. If Miami drops ices or plays passive against the screens, it allows the Nuggets to beat them with their range. If they choose to be aggressive and blitz or hedge up high, it allows Denver to attack the middle of the floor like we saw in games 3 and 4. When it comes to Denver's revamped offensive sets, positioning is king. Especially against Miami's zone looks, positioning has created numerous opportunities for lobs and free layups for the Nuggets in games 3 and 4. In particular, the guys in the corner have benefited tremendously in capitalizing off of Miami's help-heavy style by putting their best defenders in awkward 2-on-1 situations. The Heat defenders are constantly getting caught over-helping when Denver is one pass away in this series. Here, when Bam slides up to blitz Murray as the help defender, Jimmy Butler now has to worry about both Gordon and Jokic, and has no choice but to bring up Miami's back line to stay between both. Jokic's move to the top of the key triggers a Gordon cut like we discussed earlier, and an impressive lob by KCP comes in for the slam. If you pay attention in these scenarios, Denver is always trying to have the defender as the third point in this imaginary triangle, forcing him to defend one leg or another and prioritize it. The second he commits, it's over, and the cut is made, and the lob or pass down low like we saw here from KCP. With so much talk about the two-man game of Jokic and Murray, let's talk about Denver's stellar supporting cast while we're at it. Your uncle's favorite basketball player, Christian Braun, is a bona fide expert at this action, as he can always be found sinking below a defense's back line quietly when Joker is forced into playing from up high. Braun has definitely learned a few things from watching Jamal Murray play off of Jokic up high, as he's become equally as adept in that department, especially when Miami's guards are this aggressive like they've been in the past 2 games. Again, look for that triangle to be formed, followed by a quick cut from Braun, and then the bucket as soon as the defender commits. When it comes to this Nuggets offense against man-to-man or 1-3-1 looks, help, blitzing, or doubling of any kind is always the signal for a series of cuts from the corner to be made, with all of Miami's attention up near the free throw line. Here, Gordon draws the mismatch and subsequent double, which leads Braun to cut to the hoop and lay it in. While it's a little tougher to pull off this action against zone looks, specifically a 2-3 with heavy emphasis on the paint, Denver will often opt for a simple back screen to free up their man. Watch here how Jeff Green basically just seals off Duncan Robinson, allowing Braun to cut baseline for the dunk, where Robinson usually would have been had it not been for the screen. Both Gordon and Braun are 2 players who have benefited immensely from playing with the likes of Jokic and Murray, and they've quietly taken their games to new heights by doing the dirty work with the big stage spotlight on their stars. Look, as for the Heat, I've said time and time again throughout this series that the outcome will largely be determined by how Miami plays without Jokic on the floor. While Denver's offense is undoubtedly lacking in the half court without their superstar center, they've more than made up for that in the transition game. The Nuggets are averaging 12 points per game in the series on the fast break, and more than half of those transition buckets are coming without Nikola on the court. The Heat are winning the turnover battle in this series by a wide margin, yet they're inexplicably getting dominated in the transition game. Their offense is just yet to find another gear in this series, and their half-court game really doesn't have the personnel to do so. If they're going to come back in this series, they're likely going to have to stick with that aggressive defensive style as they enter desperation mode, so why not play off that and supplement your offense with a strong transition game? In the end, I suppose that's easier said than done though, when you're up against an offense among the likes of which the league has never seen before. Speaking of that offense, as a whole, what makes Denver's offense so dangerous is just how reactive and malleable it is. This offense really is just a big ball of Play-Doh, molding and forming into a new shape based on how the Heat decide to treat it. So much of this offense is based on reactivity and the players on the floor evaluating what a defense is giving them, which will almost always trigger one of their set initiations. This effect is only multiplied over the course of a 4 to 7 game playoff series, as Denver gets to see the same defensive sets over and over and over again. With the series now at 3-1 and a pair of decisive wins in the rear view, it's time to see if Spo has one last ace in the hole to extend Miami's miracle season. If not, the Denver Nuggets are primed to cruise to their first ever NBA title and cement this run as one of the greatest ever.